Battlefield Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Ole aka ChalkOne alongside Peekaboo Bang, and we are going to be starting up a new mini-series that we're doing on His and Hers, all about basic tactics as they related to Battlefield. Now, we've started a mini-series about our favorite loadouts. We're going to have this one, so this is sort of the kind of stuff that we'll be doing on His and Hers. We'll have discussions about relevant topics at any given time, but we'll also try to sort of embed some knowledge for you guys, because we have somebody very knowledgeable with us. Lucky to have her. And I think one of the core fundamentals that you pointed out that was sort of important for people to be aware of, and a lot of people might already do that, but not even mentally recognize that that's what they're doing, or this could also be something that will help you improve your game, and that's called basic cornering. I will most likely, in most of these videos, play the how not to do it role. I do that gladly. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you mean by basic cornering and why that is important in a game like Battlefield?
So basic cornering is going to be when you are using some sort of cover to, for lack of a better word, corner. You're gonna use that cover to fight from an angle, preferably like a 45-degree angle. It's going to hide most of your body, make it so that you are mostly covered, makes it very hard for your enemy to hit you. So when you're in a combat situation, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to kill your enemy and die less.
Now, we recorded some footage specifically to point out a couple of sort of key things to think about when you're doing that. We went into an empty server, jumped into spectator mode, and you mentioned a couple of really interesting things that I don't think I've ever really thought about when I was sort of hiding behind a corner.
Right. So one of the things you definitely do not want to do when you are running up to wait for a push, or you're using your cornering technique, is toss your med pack out to a point where the enemy is coming and can see it from a distance. That's more than likely going to give away your position if you're trying to hide at all, because they're going to see that med pack and know, well, we don't have anybody at B yet.
Right.
Why is that med pack there? It's a dead giveaway as to what your position is. Even without the audio cue, if they're not listening or there when you throw the med pack, seeing it already down outside the corner is a bad idea. And
that's something that sort of people do very easily, because a lot of times, especially on Metro or where you have corners that you know you're going to be staying around for a little while, you throw down a med pack or an ammo box or whatever.
Right.
That's a good point. I'm sure I've done that before.
Right.
Run up to the corner, throw that down.
Well, and you're not thinking about it either, but med packs or ammo packs are the two things you're probably going to corner with. So whether you're playing support or assault, they can both be destroyed by being shot or by grenades. So having the med pack or the ammo pack also behind cover keeps it from being destroyed and keeps you from having to constantly throw those med packs down for yourself or your teammates. Now,
on a map like Metro, I mean, when you play it a lot on a 64-man server, a lot of times that cornering turns into 12 people behind the corner. Do some of these strategies still apply even in that case, or?
Right, absolutely. Cover hogging is a terrible situation that happens just on any map. So when you're trying to corner, you can stay on that corner and use it. Generally, the other players are going to push around you once they realize you're not moving, or you're just going to get a whole bunch of people stuck there. So I don't suggest staying in a situation like that. If you need to, rotate corners, do it by all means. You don't have to stay at that one corner. It doesn't mean that you have to corner always at the same corner or use the same cover as everyone else.
What about in Battlefield 4, they introduced that lean tactic, that sort of automated system that's supposed to make you lean around corners, which I think was supposed to promote the whole idea of staying mostly behind cover while still being able to shoot. Does that come into play? Is that an actual benefit, or?
I think they probably put the mechanic in there to promote that cornering technique idea that, I used a lot in Battlefield 3 as I do in Battlefield 4. I think they failed a little bit with it in that the lean actually sticks a good half of your body further out from the corner than if you just stood up next to it and then, used a slicing the pie or, pushed yourself out a little further from the corner to see. I think they failed a little bit with how far and how much it sticks yourself out there.
What do you think you should do if you come up cross somebody on your team that's already sort of, bunkered down in that corner, and you mentioned a buddy system when we were recording earlier. Any advice on somebody that comes across a squad mate or somebody that maybe you're not on comms with, but how can you help them out without being the person that pushes them out of cover? Because that can happen a lot.
Or makes it so that they can't jump back behind cover.
Right, yeah.
If you're going to use a buddy system with somebody that isn't in comms as far as cornering goes, listen for the firing cues that I spoke about in the Metro video. If they are burst firing, they're probably controlling the corner. If they're spraying like a madman, they're not controlling the corner. Best way you can help them out is if they pull back to reload and they're fully behind cover, then that's your turn to go ahead and rotate out and take your turn on the corner. And then when you need to reload, pop back and move back in. Either rotate around back behind that person, or if you can, safely cut in front of them.
So then how would you say, what are the basic techniques that you need to sort of master to become better at using corners in the game as for cover?
Number one, when you run up to the corner, make sure that your ammo bag or your med bag are behind cover with you. Make sure they're not visible. Number two would be, remember that the further you push yourself out from that corner, the more exposed you are. And if you're working in a buddy system and you see your buddy pushing farther out and exposing more of themselves, then take that opportunity to watch their back. It's also beneficial for you to burst fire in that situation, peek around, fire, pull back behind cover, let yourself recover a little bit. In a 5v5 situation, it's always, you never want to peek until you're at full health. It's not beneficial for you to peek if you're not at full health.
That's a very good point, actually. And what do you do? I find it very easy to get yourself drawn out further and further around the corner. So say you're looking out, you don't see an enemy, you move a little further, you still don't see anybody, you move some more. All of a sudden, you're 20 feet away from the corner. And that's happened to me before, where I pivot around that corner so much where I finally see somebody, but I've lost complete sight of wide angle that I've now exposed myself to. And I usually end up getting killed, not by the person that I just spotted, but by somebody that's, stepped into view now or something. It's like, how do you keep yourself restrained to stay in that corner when you're playing as a player that's sort of expected to be there, to be, you called it an anchor point for the rest of your squad? How do you how do you gain that discipline? I
think that just comes with a lot of play, especially squad play. When you're the Axel player or the anchor, as you called it, everyone's going to be working around you and pushing around you. So you may not be the player on the team with the most points or the player on the team with the highest KD, but you're going to be doing a lot for your team. So disciplining yourself to sticking to your corner and watching your spot or your area, watching what you need to watch, making sure no one comes through you is extremely important in situations. And, a lot of your players that already do this, that are already, what would consider themselves an Axel player, are just going to be ingrained to know that. If you find yourself in a situation where you've pushed too far out from your corner and now you're way out there, find another corner, the closest corner, find the cover. If that means push it up with the firing line, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Even if you are the Axel player, you don't have to stay back at the back at B on Metro, say. You can push it up to the front, and you're going to do that. You're going to follow the push. You're not going to be leading the push.
I think that's going to be a recurring theme in these videos where you teach me about patience, because
yes,
for me, that's not, I will do that. I'll start there and then a little while, nothing will happen. And I just I need to go. And I usually end up with a bad KD.
Right. Being the Axel player and cornering properly is not for the shiny player. It's not
for me.
No, it's not for the ADD player. It's for, even if you are one of those players, though, this will help you understand what you should be doing if you're in that situation, or you're set up in a firing line, or you need to use cornering. This will help you hopefully do it better and do it right.
It's actually really good advice. I've tried this a couple times, and if you really tell yourself, especially on a map like Metro, where it comes to holding down Bravo flag, if you really make yourself stay there and be patient and let your squad you can usually tell when it's a public game that if you see all your squad members running all over the place, but if you can hang back a little bit and be that player that they can spawn on, it will benefit the team. You may not get that instant gratification of a kill or something like that, but it can make a big difference. I've seen that happen.
That, and I make it a game for myself. That's another way I keep it interesting on my own. And I'll say, okay, I want to die as little as possible this game. Like, I want my KD to just be like 13 or something insane. Like, just because I'm cornering, I'm being that Axel player for my squad, and so that's how I keep myself from getting distracted a lot of times.
Nice. So if you have any comments that you want to leave us in the video section down below about this particular tactic, maybe any other sort of basic strategies or things that you would like to hear us talk about, there's a lot of things I think that we're going to be covering that are sort of small, bite-sized pieces that can really help improve your game gradually, though. I mean, there's not going to be like, oh, do this and you will always win every battle. There's no such thing. But we'll have these little snippets of basic knowledge that will help you out.
I'd also like to know how cornering works for you, if you use it after watching the video some, how it worked out for you, what you thought of the technique, and if you have any questions for me, let me know.
And my final bit of advice, don't do it in a locker room on Metro with 28 other people.
No, probably not in the lockers, maybe just outside behind the door, but don't block the door. That'll be probably one of the next videos. The Cone of Death, we'll call it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. And hopefully you will too, and you'll tune in again for that. Thank you so much for watching.